We tend to think of our inner world, all our thoughts and feelings and beliefs, as something that just kind of happens to us. But what if it's not random at all? What if it's actually a structure, an inner architecture that you are constantly, and I mean constantly, building? Today, we're going to grab the blueprints and learn how to become the architect of our own inner home.
So tell me if this sounds familiar. You leave a party, or even just a conversation, and you immediately start replaying what you wish you'd said, right? Or maybe you're in a room surrounded by people who genuinely love you, but you feel totally and completely invisible. It's this ache of feeling like a guest in your own life. And here's the thing I really want you to hear. If that's you, you are not alone. And that feeling, it's not some personal failure. It doesn't mean you're weak or broken. It's a structural issue. It's a sign that the very design of your inner house has a flaw. And we just need to go in and find it. So let's do it. Let's put on our hard hats and take a look at the blueprints of you. This whole idea of an inner architecture is going to be our guide for making sense of that incredibly complex and sometimes chaotic world inside each of us. Okay, so just imagine everything inside you, your hopes, your fears, your memories, your values, all of it is part of a single structure, a home. And just like any house, its integrity, its strength, really depends on the materials you use. Today, we're going to zero in on two of the most important building materials there are. And here they are. These are the two big players. On one side, you've got the performing self. I want you to think of this as the drywall, the smooth, clean, acceptable surface that everyone sees. And on the other side, that's your authentic voice. This is the load-bearing beam, the part that's actually holding the whole thing up. All right, so let's start with that drywall. This is the part of ourselves that we present to the world. And honestly, it's the version that's often running the show, sometimes without us even having a clue that it's happening. Now, it's really important to get this. The performing self isn't the bad guy here. It was built for a reason, for survival. We learn really young, right, that sometimes our real opinions or our big feelings are too much for people. So we create this version of ourselves that can edit on the fly, just to stay safe, to stay loved, and to stay accepted. And this is how you spot it in your own life. It's that voice that automatically says, "Oh, I'm fine," when you're actually falling apart inside. It's the part of you that just nods along to keep a conversation from getting awkward. Its main job, its only job, really, is to keep the peace, no matter what it costs you on the inside. It's basically your own internal press secretary. Okay, so that's the drywall. Now let's look for the real structure. Because underneath all that smooth surface, every good house has to have its essential support. And that, my friends, is your authentic voice. Your authentic voice is your structural truth. It's not usually the loudest voice in the room. It's that quiet, steady, solid voice deep down that remembers what you actually believe in. It knows what you need. It knows where your limits are. It's the part of you that carries your integrity. And here is the absolute key difference. Your authentic voice is not always trying to be nice. Nope. Sometimes its job is to say a firm no. Or, hey, that hurt my feelings. Or, actually, I don't agree with that. Its purpose isn't to keep everyone else comfortable. Its purpose is to keep you true to yourself. So what happens when we build our entire life out of drywall? When we just keep papering over the real structure? Well, the cost of relying too much on that performing self is huge. It creates these tiny cracks in our foundation, and it's what keeps us stuck living a life that's curated instead of a life that's actually aligned. And it shows up as this feeling that the source material calls a relational hangover. You know what I'm talking about. It's that feeling of just complete exhaustion, maybe some resentment, and total disconnection after you've been around people, but you weren't really yourself. You're drained because performing is hard work. Think of these as the warning lights flashing on your internal dashboard. This constant editing of yourself, it leads to this really deep and painful sense of loneliness. You can even start to doubt what you actually think or feel because you've spent so much time and energy translating your own reality for everybody else's benefit. And here's where it gets really dangerous. When your performing self is in charge of construction, you end up building a house that's designed to make everyone else comfortable. You're literally using blueprints that were never yours to begin with. And in the end, you can build a life that looks perfect from the outside. The stable job, the happy family, the beautiful home.
But if it's all made of drywall, it's just not going to feel safe or real for the one person who actually has to live inside it. You.
Okay, deep breath. So how do we fix this? How do we stop being tenants in our own lives and actually start the renovation? Well, the very first step is just learning to hear that authentic voice again.
It's kind of funny, but to find the structural beam, you first have to become an expert on the drywall. The key is to just start noticing. Start tracking the exact moments where you choose being comfortable over being truthful. Those little moments your inner editor jumps in.
Seriously, just pay attention to this stuff. When do you soften an opinion you feel strongly about? When do you say, oh, it's fine, when it is absolutely 100% not fine? When do you swallow your anger or your sadness just so you don't make someone else uncomfortable? Every single one of those moments is a little clue, a little arrow pointing you back towards your truth. So once you get a little better at noticing those edits, the next step is a really simple, intentional practice to start reversing the habit. It's a powerful little exercise for giving your authentic voice a chance to finally speak, completely unfiltered.
Here's how it works. It's super simple. You're going to write a letter, but the person writing it is your authentic voice, and the person receiving it is your performing self. And listen, this isn't for anyone else to see. It's a private, internal board meeting just happening on paper.
And this is your prompt. Start with this one sentence and just see what happens. Dear me who has had to perform, here's what I'm tired of pretending. Are you tired of pretending to laugh at things that actually hurt you? Tired of pretending you have energy when you're completely exhausted? Tired of pretending to agree just to keep the peace?
And look, the point here is not to write some literary masterpiece. It's not even about fixing anything yet. The only goal is to allow your true, honest, load-bearing voice to exist somewhere in the world without being edited, without being softened, and without being silenced.
And that really brings us to the heart of it. Renovating your inner architecture, it doesn't happen overnight. It happens one beam at a time, one honest sentence at a time. So, I'm going to leave you with this question to carry around with you. What is one honest sentence your load-bearing beam wants to say right now?